Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another Talent Talks podcast. Today's episode, I think, is going to get a lot of people thinking about what they need to be doing on LinkedIn more so than they have been in the past. And all of that comes down to not having access to so many of the people directly. And when I say directly, I mean in person that they might have had in the past. I know I keep talking about this, but as I continue to look at what's going on, while there are people walking into accounts, it is still not happening all of the time. Now, there's going to be someone who sends me a message and says, yo, Scott, I've walked into every one of my accounts. They can't wait to see me, and things are going extremely well. Most of you are going to come back and go, yeah, Scott, you're right. We're not getting into all of our accounts. We're getting into maybe 1 out of every 5, or in some areas of the country, you're getting into none. And so I wanted to put together something today that was extremely tactical, that would allow you to put some things into action today to be more successful with engaging people and getting customer engagement or prospect engagement faster than you would by just trying to pick up a phone and connect with cold calls. But before I jump directly into who our guest is for today, if you are a hiring manager and you're looking to hire a talent for your organization, and by a talent, I mean those top 10 to 15% of people who can achieve the most results for your group, do me a favor, go to our website. It's at cercatalent.com. If you highlight over talent review in the heading, you'll see a link that says Discover the Art of Hiring A Players. There's an opportunity for you to fill out a short form and get access to the book. I'd love to get your feedback and comments on this. We've gotten great feedback on it already, but we are launching this to everyone to be able to see that. Again, if you want to hire a talent, completely free book available to you today simply by going to Cerca, C-E-R-C-A, talent.com, and then look for the talent review section, which is where we post a lot of information and a lot of content. And just below that, you'll see something that says Discover the Art of Hiring A Players. Click on that, fill out the short form. It is yours for free. I am really excited. I know I use really a lot, but I am excited today to introduce to you Brynne Tillman. Brynne is the owner of an amazing company that I'm actually a client of. That kind of helps, doesn't it? She is the one of the owners at Social Sales Link. You'll find her at socialsaleslink.com. Here is her website. And what does she focus on? She focuses on using the internet, specifically LinkedIn, in order to convert your connections to customers. So I invited Brynne on the show, and she said, of course, she'd love to do it. And in fact, she had it booked before I could even send her the link. She had found a way to book time on my calendar. And so we were able to see her and talk to her today. And then in addition to that, after getting the information, again, you see her site at socialsaleslink.com. And for everyone listening to this, Brynne has given us access to free content. That's right. If it's free, it's for me. I like it. And she's given us free content. If you go to linkedinlibrary.com, she will give you access to a ton of information and access, in fact, to some of her free seminars and webinars and just a lot of information about social selling. So Social Sales Link Content Library is yours for free, and you can find all of that here. I'll put the link down in the show notes. Guys, I really feel like that Brynne brings a lot of information to this podcast that is not just things that you could think about doing. It's something that is actionable that you could do today. And so do me a favor, reach out to Brynne on LinkedIn. Connect with her. Let her know that you heard about her on the Talent Talks podcast with Scott Rivers. And always, please give me any feedback that you have. The best thing that you could do for us is give us a rating wherever you're listening to this podcast, and that would help other people to see this. We're getting people from outside the healthcare and even diagnostics industry who are listening to this, which is awesome. But, I'd love to get more people to hear and see what we're putting out as content. I think it's great. I think it's valuable. And I hope you're getting the same out of it. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Brynne Tillman.
What I really want to talk about is how do salespeople start more conversations in a remote world. That's really what I want to talk about.
Well, why don't we start the show just like that? So, Brynne,
Okay.
let's go into it right now. How do people at a time during COVID-19, even after COVID-19, how are we to get that sales engagement since we're not able to walk in and actually meet with customers? What do we do? Let's get down and dirty and tactical. What do we do?
I love it, Scott. So the very first thing we have to do is buyer map, figure out who is it that we really want to have conversations with. If we can't drill it down, we go too wide, it ends up to be an issue as we're doing outreach. The second thing we need to do is think about or learn or discover what is it that our buyers want to hear. And that's very different than what do we want to tell them. Right? Our goal is to start more sales conversations. We need to do it in a way, the only way that we get to earn the right to have those conversations is to truly be of value, to be a resource, right? And so the mindset of social selling the right way is where we begin. We've got to know who it is, know what we're going after, and have a philosophy. So our philosophy is, well, and kind of in one of many ways, be of value, be a resource, build relationships, and the sales will come when the time is right. Right? That is one of the biggest problems. Let's do like what isn't working first.
Okay.
Which is connect and pitch. Right? I get 10 a day.
I do as well.
They're not even waiting to pitch to me when I accept. It's now in the connection request.
That's right. I can show you 3 or 4 of them that I've gotten this morning just doing that same thing. Or maybe they'll send me a connection request saying they're wanting to expand the network. And within 5 minutes, I'm getting the follow-up automated email saying, here's everything that we can do for you. And if you don't call us, this is going to be your mistake, right? It's just garbage.
Crazy.
Right.
I know. And it's that to me is the social pandemic. Like it's a real problem for not just the people selling, but for the platform as a whole.
Right.
The people are, so that I think is the biggest danger. So the first, we can talk about that. The second is connect and forget.
Mm-hmm.
So although it won't hurt your reputation, it's not going to help your sales either.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we've got the right balance, that we're starting conversations and we're coming from the mindset of the person on the other side of this message should be treated as if they were on the other side of the table.
Okay.
And if we can I would not walk into a business card exchange, walk over and say, hi, Scott, I'm Brynne. We help companies just like yours. I would never do that. So why are we there is a human being at the other side. So we have to start conversations in a way that's meaningful to them. Now, I may have a salesperson say, well, I can really help them if they just give me 15 minutes of their time. I don't know why they won't schedule time with me. I can bring them so much value. Well, you haven't earned the right.
Right. That's right.
And you have to, right? You've got to earn the right to get that conversation. So I have, Keenan from Gap Selling, his book,
Sure.
Gap Selling. Okay.
Yes.
Absolutely fabulous book. I have it on audio. I rarely listen to books more than once, and I'm probably on 4th time around. Just powerful. One of my favorite things that was game changer, not just for me, but what I bring to my clients is you've got to master the ask offer ratio. Mm-hmm. So I've adapted this to social selling, but generally we are asking them for something, whether it's money, time, there's some investment in return for an offer for something. And we can take this down to, we're asking you to watch a 3-minute video. At the end of that 3 minutes, or connect with me on LinkedIn or read my profile, whatever time invested at the end of that, I'm walking away with one of three reactions. The first one is bait and switch. Let's join my network. I want to sell to you. That's a bait and switch. Watch my video. It's a feature benefit pitch. Bait and switch. Ugly, happens too much. It will kill your reputation and you'll get no business from it, no matter how much you reach out. Number two, it was neutral. I didn't do anything with it. I didn't care. I don't not like you anymore, but it didn't turn to that sales conversation, which is my goal. And that's where we need to be, is in number three. Okay. Number three is compelling. Compelling could be something as simple as, I like your content or comment on it. I accept your connection request. I ask you to connect. I actually ask you a question based on what I've learned, right? I ask for a call. I schedule a call. All of those at many different levels is compelling. Everything we do needs to be in compelling if, in fact, we want more sales conversations from leveraging LinkedIn, which now in today's world of the virtual selling, LinkedIn is an essential tool. If we're not using it right, we're leaving a lot of opportunity out there, and we need more conversations to sell. If we don't get conversations, no matter how many pitches you put out there, you're not going to sell anything.
That's right. Brynne, what I'm seeing a lot of is we have a lot of people that are outside salespeople, right? Mm-hmm. Who they're not able to go in. And you mentioned this, they're not able to go in and see their customers. If at all, it's certainly mm-hmm. a lot less than it was prior to this. And so we have outside salespeople that are having a tough time figuring out what that communication and conversation should look like. How do I add value to someone or something if I'm not telling them about my product, right? And that's where I think companies are going right now. Yeah. All I'm seeing is, here's our product, this is what we can do. Here's our product, this is what we can do. But it's not adding the value to their customer base that makes them want to come and listen, right?
Yeah, right. And they think this.
But where can, especially the salespeople, where can they provide value during this time without showing up, and as we used to say, showing up and throwing up?
Yes, I remember that. We did. So it's a great question. Let's start with why we want value versus pitch, right? So Corporate Visions did a study. 74% of buyers choose the sales rep that was first to add value and insights. That's 3/4 of our buyers are not choosing us based on an RFP or on a price or on the 3/4. Right. So, but there's a key in this, which was first to add value and insights. We need to add value early. Value to your buyer is different than how you perceive value in most cases. Value is vendor agnostic. That means if they never talk to you and never engage with you again, they walked away having been better for it. There are 5 pieces to a good piece of content or value that you can kind of go, is what I'm saying, and the content, your message to them, your profile is content, your share to the newsfeed. Across the board, 5 points. The first one is you need to resonate with your buyer. Mm-hmm. If they don't know you're talking to them, they're not going to read it. Number 2, you need to create curiosity. And this is a big one. If we don't get them curious, like the goal of a newspaper headline is to get you curious enough to pick it up and read it. That's what the first line needs to be, whether it's your headline on your profile or the first line in a post or the first line in an email. You have to grab their attention and create curiosity. The third thing that you need to do is teach them something new. How do you stand out? And that's not tell them something new, teach them something new. Create an aha moment for them. I have one client that calls it the pug tilt, when they go,
Hmm.
Mhm.
That's
Right?
great.
Yeah, I love that, right? So, teach them something new. The next piece is vital. You've got to get them thinking differently than their current state, right? Even a little. You could do that with FOMO. Ooh, I would love that. Or
Right.
fear. Oh my gosh, I don't have that. Right? Whatever. But they have to think differently than where they are today. And last, it needs to lead to your solution. Because if it doesn't, all of those things won't lead to a sales conversation. You can
Right.
do all those things, but if you sell cars and you just taught them about telephone systems, it's not going to help you, even if you did the other four. So you need to make sure that what you're doing is going to get hands raised and say, I want more of that.
And Brynne, I know that you're not saying this, but I think one key to this is it doesn't all have to be within the same message or all within the same post.
No, but that's what we need to do in nurturing that prospect to get them to raise their hand and say, let's chat.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So, Brynne, we talk about that ask to offer ratio, and those 5 points were amazing. One of the things you mentioned was about the profile. Maybe we start there, because I feel like so many people have got that messed up, right? Whether you are using LinkedIn as a sales tool, as a connections tool, even just to broaden your network, or if you're using it to look for a new position, I think it all starts with the profile. So where do most people mess that up, and what can they do to fix it?
Yeah. So first, I want to be clear. All of those profiles are different.
Correct.
So
Okay.
if you are going to find a job, you're looking for a job, your profile needs to not only present you well, but also be easily read by the bots, right? By the search engines for specific things, right? So that recruiters and hiring managers find you. I don't know how to do that. I have lots of people I refer for that. So what I talk about is, how do we position our profile so that when we do attract the right person, whether it's proactive or reactive, and they show up, they want to call with us. That's what we do. That's the job of the profile if you're in a business development role, right? It's to get more of those calls. So, those 5 points really work in here as well. So, when it comes to the headline, we now have actually 210 characters, which is nice. So we can say more. But
now, do you still have to do that on your cell phone, or can you do it in the main one?
Okay. On desktop.
Because that was a trick for the longest time. You had to go to your cell phone in order to get access to those. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Glad. Yeah. So we can now do that on desktop, which makes me so happy. So that gives us an opportunity beyond your title or your company, especially if it's director of business development, that is not going to get a prospect to say, oh, I got to talk to them, right? Like it doesn't. Right. So what does? We have to go back to resonate, make sure that we're creating curiosity. That's the job of our headline, which can be done with who we help, how we help, and the results we deliver. Now, done well, that's going to get someone to go, I'd like to learn more. Right? So now we go down into the about summary. And this is where we can get really controversial, because everyone wants this to be about me.
Yes.
The about me, I put down in the experience section, because I want to earn the right for them to care about me. Right now, they don't. Okay. So I actually love the about section when it's used almost like a blog post, right? This is where we become the resource. So we start with, here's the challenge that you, Mr. Buyer, are facing right now. They resonate, right? I teach them something new. So, 3 ways to look at something, 5 ways to think of something, right? And then a call to action, which simply, if you're feeling this pain, this challenge, let's chat. Whether or not we decide to work together, I can provide additional resources that can help you do X.
That's awesome. Right? Yeah.
And so I think that's really important. The next important piece is the featured section. Oh, go
Before we
ahead.
leave the about, do you mind if I put a picture of yours as we put up this video? Can I put a picture of your
Yeah,
about section?
sure.
And the reason it's cool is everything that you just talked about, and guys, you're going to read this. I'm going to be reading it to you, but it's going to be in front of you right now. Brynne starts off with learn top LinkedIn and social selling strategies. Boom, right there at the top. It is so evident what you do and what you can provide. And then she goes on, as she always does, and provides great content in there that if you just read that, you're going to get benefit from looking through that section. And I see so many people, and I might be guilty of this, I might have to go change mine before this podcast airs, it's about them. It's about Scott Rivers. It's about Brynne Tillman. I think that is, in and of itself, of all of the stuff we're going to talk to today, that might be one of the most important things people need to do is just change that about section. I know there's so much more that we're going to go into, but that might be one of the most important things to do.
Yeah, and it is important. It's that's how they'll connect and go, "Ooh, I want a conversation." That
Right.
said, they do care about you, but not until you matter to them, right? So the about section says that this she or he can help me.
Mm-hmm.
The featured section, I'll just touch on that. This is the visual area where we can really have a huge impact by providing value, but make sure that the content that you are sharing in that featured section is doing those 5 things, or at least one of those 5 things, right? That it's not a pitch. We're not just putting up, our 1-page collateral piece there.
Right. Good.
Then you have your experience. And, we've actually recently shifted the way we talk about experience, because in this remote environment, people do want to get to know people better than they did before. So we're saying, and we have a very specific kind of formula for the experience section. We do for the whole profile, but the experience section should start with your why, your Simon Sinek, not exactly what you do or what you can sell yet. We'll get to it, but start with your why you're here. I start with how did I end up in sales? I was in an inbound call center and bored, so I started asking discovery questions. That's how I start that you want to get to know me. That's how I ended up here, right? Then what we decided to do, because they do need to know what you provide, we actually call it the experience hack. But you know how if you were director of sales, VP of sales, CRO, right? And so your positions are threaded together in an experience. We decided, why put titles there? Let's put deliverables or solutions there. So you can start to highlight there so now you've taught them something new. They care about you. If they're still looking, now it's time to say, and here's how we can help. If they're still there, they're interested.
Yeah, that's very good. So you mentioned earlier talking about if you're doing this to find a job, don't reach out to you to get your profile ready. Everyone listening, if that's the case, feel free to reach out to me. I'll help you with that. We've got some tools that I could send to you to help you with it. But if you're looking to add value and grow your connections with your potential customers, Brynne, you are the person to go to and look at your profile as an example, but certainly feel free to reach out to Brynne as doing that. Brynne, you mentioned also that a lot of times what happens is people will reach out to potential customers, potential clients, they connect with them, and then it goes dark, right? You forget about them. And I think maybe this is an area where we want to look at Sales Navigator as a tool to help you, or maybe some other tools that you want to mention. And just so everyone knows, when I first started listening to Brynne, it was like everyone else. I found her on LinkedIn. She was doing an interview with someone that we've already had on the show. And I started trying to really learn from her what was going on LinkedIn and Sales Navigator and how to best use it. And in fact, you and Bill, I think, just provide amazing content in this area. And you do so much of it for free. You don't want to do everything for free, but you're giving. And I think that gives you the ability for that ask as well. But maybe we move into that a little bit. For those people who are good at engaging, they get connected to the customer, and then they lose it. What are the tools they should use? How is the best way for them to use it?
Yeah, I do first want to, and I will answer that for sure. But the first thing I want to say is about the giving. So Michael Port, I don't know if you're familiar, he wrote Public Speaking and he wrote Book Yourself Solid. I love his quote, which is give away so much content that you're afraid you gave too much. I'm sorry, give away so much value that you're afraid you gave too much, and then give more.
Right.
And I would say that's foundational. Between that and Keenan's ask offer ratio and a little bit of challenger sale and maybe a tweak of Miller Hyman is like where like the whole kind of the our LinkedIn philosophy comes in. Okay. And so unless what you do for a living is 100% information, if they can do it without you, maybe you need to be a little cautious. But right. Generally, most of us, there's no information in the world that could get them to do it on their own. If you sell software, right? They're not going to write the software based on your insights, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if you sell to laboratories, those laboratories need the service.
Right.
No matter how much information you give, they still need to buy the service. So
instrumentation or anything else that's necessary, right?
Yeah. So you can't give away too much value. Because unless you sell that for a living, right? If you sell the content for a living, that is the only time that may be a challenge. If you actually sell a product, it's impossible to give away too much value. Because here's the thing, it's a test drive. They get to, what is it like to work with Scott, right? And that value, the generous heart and the generous nature is going to attract them to you. And remember, 3/4 of them pick the sales rep that was first to bring value and insights. Thank you, corporate visions, right? So we need to be doing that as much as possible. Yes. So when, and that's not pitch, it's value. So what kind of value first before how do we nurture these people? What kind of value can we bring? We need to really understand what is it that our buyers care about? What are they consuming? Look at what are they engaging on now? We have to get in the buyer's head. One of the best ways to do this is to capture your own genius. What I mean by that is 90% of your conversations with your clients is amazing, valuable content that you can be capturing and reusing, and you're not. Right? So you are on a call, you've got your prospects are asking you questions, your clients are asking you questions, you're giving answers. Every single one of those should be looked at as, is this a piece of content? If one prospect or client is asking, there's a good chance other people are too.
Sure.
So it's at your fingertips. Look at the email responses you've done. I bet you there's a ton of value in that. And there's so many ways to capture that. Some of that, how do we re-engage and nurture these people that might, we started a conversation with and didn't respond? Mm-hmm. Scott, hope you're well. We connected a few weeks ago. Just recently put out, a 100-word post on a client asked me this question. And I thought that the answer was something that other laboratories might find helpful. Right?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's an easy way. I mean, that's so easy and it's a miss on most people's part because they might have a conversation with that lab manager. The lab manager is asking about what's going on, with X testing or Y testing and what are timelines around this? Or, you're talking on maybe the regulatory side of the business and what's happening with FDA approvals for things that maybe are outside of COVID-19. These are all examples of things that could be written up, sent to somebody else, as long as it's not proprietary, right? It's within guidelines of the company, and put out there as information that is useful and certainly adding value to other customers. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
One more thing. So if you're like, okay, I'm not really good at capturing my own stuff and I don't know, and I'm not giving good advice and I'm new at this or whatever it is, Here's a magic bullet. Ready?
Ready.
Polls, LinkedIn polls, right? So let's go find a percentage. What's a percentage out there? 54% of laboratories are struggling with this, and this, right? So something, Forbes came out with this stat or whatever, right? We've got this stat. Now we want to make a poll.
Right.
We start with the stat. 54% of laboratories are facing this, and this. Recently came across this statistic, and I thought I'd do a little of my own research. I put a little poll together to see if this is consistent with the laboratories that I'm working with. Here's the poll. Question 4 answers. Now we put it out there, and you can get this into the inbox of your connections. So Scott, I hope you're well. As the laboratory manager, I'd love to get your insights on, if this study is reflective of what you're seeing.
Excellent.
Kindly vote on this poll. So you don't even have to know anything.
You just have to ask a question. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And then, what I find is that, a lot of these companies that we work with, they're using Salesforce. Mm-hmm. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm not a big fan, but it's for other reasons probably than most people think. But what I see is that, if they don't have some type of a sequence in place, they're missing out, right? Well, when was the last time you talked to X prospect? And it's like, oh, I haven't talked to them in a while. Well, you've missed out on that. And is Sales Navigator kind of the tool within LinkedIn to be able to make sure that you are not having that happen?
Yeah. So recently they've made some changes. I used to use an old feature that they had to kind of as my pre-CRM, but you can use their saved lists in a similar way. So you can actually have, maybe in your sales process, you have 3 or 4 where people are in your pipeline. Maybe it's pre-CRM pipeline, right? So you can have a list that you save leads that might, maybe it's second degree prospects. So I know that I'm going to go in there. And then my next one might be introduction requested, introduction made, phone call scheduled. And then if that goes into your CRM after that, that's fine. Or you can continue with your cadence inside of Sales Navigator.
Right. And there's obviously other cadence tools. We're using outreach.io as a cadence tool for sales engagement.
Incredible tool.
It's pretty amazing, but especially for, I'm really good. If you give me a sequence and I walk in every morning and I know I have to do this every day, that part is easy for me. But if I'm having to remember that 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to reach back out to this person because that was the next step, I'm going to miss it because things come up and it's difficult. So I'm not the guy who can remember everything and just go do it. I need those kind of simple nudges. And between LinkedIn Navigator, or Sales Navigator, and Outreach, and there's a litany of other things that are out there, but those two are the ones that are making the most sense.
And Bring DNA maybe in there too. So yeah.
Right. Brynne, how about video? Tell me how you're teaching people to use video.
So there's lots of ways, and we can talk about video from a content perspective, but people need a human connection right now, and video is doing it. The easiest video for salespeople is the one-on-one. On your mobile device, you can actually go in to any first-degree connection, click on the little message plus sign, video, selfie, and say, hey, Scott, hope you're well. Wanted to share a blog post with you on A, B, and C. I'm going to post the link below. Hope you find it helpful. Send. Way
so
better
simple.
than so simple. So, and just like we said, treat the person on the other side of that message as you would on the other side of the table. Use their name. Make sure they know this is about them. That video was for them. Do not do like a standard video that you just send to everyone. They know. And there are other services like BombBomb and Vineyard and a couple of other ones that you can do video and embed into LinkedIn. But this is literally inside of the LinkedIn app, and it's phenomenal. Video from a content perspective, native video is phenomenal, does very well on LinkedIn. If you upload versus link any video from 6 seconds to 10 minutes,
Right.
and a 2-minute or less is probably best. But it's pretty powerful, and you can just do a quick little Zoom video. It doesn't have to be a complete professional production like you have here today, but it could be just a simple like Zoom conversation, an interview, even an internal interview. I have a bank client that was uncomfortable initially, a banker interviewing clients. So I said, why don't you interview the underwriters inside of the bank? Fine, like let's get some. What are they looking at when they're lending today, right? Like, so there's lots of places to get subject matter expertise that can educate your buyers. So there's just so many ways to use it. The answer is yes, use video.
And I've said that as well. You know, if you're looking to add value and you've got subject matter experts inside your own company that you have access to. Let's say that you're a marketing manager for one of our clients in the diagnostics area. If the company is willing to allow it, which obviously in a regulated environment, you need that approval. But if the company is willing to allow it and you've got SMEs available to talk to certain aspects of what's going on today or what's going on in the laboratory, guys, one of the best cameras you've got is right here on the phone. I mean, right, Brynne? And so you have that. And then as far as the LinkedIn,
or a Zoom.
Right. You're right. You don't have to use a way too expensive camera in order to get the best quality today. And you've got them you've got them in the palm of your hand. So if you have access to that subject matter expert can add credibility to your message very quickly. And it's very simple to do that. The other thing is I like the native LinkedIn video because it's so easy. It's just like getting a voicemail. The other thing is using voice too on that. I find that I get I get better reception and better response by sending either a video or a voicemail over native LinkedIn than any other tool that I've got.
And that messaging is a little different just for nomenclature. Native video is in the uploading in the news feed. And then I don't know, I say nomenclature, I don't even know the video inside the message video in the app.
That's right.
But I agree. We have probably an over 90% reaction rate, the compelled to do something rate with video. And that compelled to do something is that's really cool. How did you do that? I don't care. I started a conversation. I moved it to the next, right? So
whatever it takes to get access and whatever it takes for someone to respond in a way that's positive, right? Which we can both tell you, Brynne and I can both tell you, me from past experience, even if you follow up your first connection request with, here's what I can do to help your business, and just flooding the gates with all the stuff you want from them, you're not getting a response from me, nor are you getting a response from probably 99% of the other people that are out there, unless they happen to be absolutely in dire need of something that can do what you're saying, which how many times is that the case? Yeah, that's true. It's funny, Brynne, because even with this podcast, when I've reached out to certain people to ask them to join, their first question is, well, what do you want in return? And this is, it is, but it's the nature of people today. And I think that's why it's important for everyone to understand it, that people are naturally pessimistic, especially when you're reaching out to them on a platform that's used for business. They're expecting you to ask something. And so that's one of the things that I've tried to do with this podcast is I try to get back to the people who are on here, either by, I've become clients to some of the people who have been on the podcast. I try to give value back by giving them the video and the content to be able to use it on their channels. For my client base on the other side of our business, this is just a value add. I'm trying to give them information that will help them to be successful. And then all of that is just trying to give back. Now, does it come back to me? I think it will in spades, but as of right now, I'm really just trying to give.
I love that. And it's apparent, and you're bringing value to a lot of salespeople that are lost right now. that need some guidance. And so that, and whether that comes directly to you or someone pays it forward, it's making an impact. And that's really important.
Yeah. Brynne, let's talk about sales managers, because they're in an uncomfortable situation right now, especially outside sales managers. They've got an outside sales team, and we're not even going to talk about leadership yet, but they've got an outside sales team that they're expecting certain things from, and yet they can't walk into their customer base, and yet they're not even trained within a lot of areas of inside sales, and inside sales scares them, but those are tools that are necessary.
Sales now. Everyone is in inside sales.
All right. So let's talk about managers, especially who are managing quote unquote outside sales teams. They've got outside, I like to say outside dogs, but it's not the right term, outside people who are going out, which are very different than inside. So how do we get them transitioning?
Yeah. So I guess normally I would say SDRs, BDRs, and field reps, right? So,
right. Well, I like the outside dogs because you don't let your outside dogs inside. You don't let your inside dogs outside. So that's why that's the change for me.
Yeah. Well, the outside dogs are inside. They're inside, and we have to train them to be inside dogs, right? So I think it's really important. They have to learn virtual selling. That does not mean that their innate relationship sales process goes away. In fact, it's more important now than ever. They have to understand that their building relationships is more vital now than it's ever been before, and they need to do it virtually. They need to have more video conversations. They need to be reaching out to clients. And if they need to grow a new a pipeline, maybe that kind of went away, everybody got ghosted out. The best way to do this is through client referrals. And the hardest thing to do is to get a client to think about who they can refer you to, unless you use LinkedIn, right? So you can search and filter your clients' connections and identify who they know that you want to meet, bring that list to them and say, of these 17 people, who do you think I should be talking to? And
that's a great idea.
Yeah. And the relationship-driven field reps 100% should be focused on that. Well, two things. Content, all that's great. Okay. They need to be focused on taking inventory of their existing connections and reaching out to have conversations with them, and then identifying who they know and taking it to that. So it's re-engage with your first degree connections, then convert them into referral partners, whether it's introductions or permission to name drop. We need to gain access to new buyers with a high level of credibility. And that's only going to happen through a referral system.
And Brynne, you mentioned the permission to name drop. What does that sound like when you're asking and when you're talking to somebody? I've heard you kind of walk through this, and I thought it was brilliant how you did it. Would you mind doing that here?
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled.
Okay.
So Scott, I noticed you're connected to 18 people on LinkedIn that I'm going to be reaching out to in the next couple of days. But before I do, can I run these names by you and get your insights?
Sure, of course.
Awesome. What do you think of Judy?
Judy's great. I've known Judy 20 years.
Right. Fred.
Fred's okay. He's going to be tough to deal with, but yeah, you can definitely reach out to him.
Okay. So we go through, right? And now our 17 become 8.
Right.
All right. Well, Scott, you know what we do. We've been able to help you in big ways. Thank you for your insights on these 8 people. When I reach out to them, would it be okay if I mention that we've been working together for the last 18 months and that you thought it made sense for me to have a conversation with them?
Of course, Brynne. No problem.
Awesome. Judy, Scott Rivers and I were chatting the other day. Your name came up in our conversation, and he thought it made sense for me to reach out and introduce myself. I've been working with Scott for 18 months and helped him with this and this. Not sure if you're exploring, but I'd love to connect and share some insights. Boom, send.
Awesome.
Half of them will become phone calls.
Awesome. And so you immediately get credibility because you're bringing up, in this case, my name. Right. You do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so what is that ask at the end? Is it, what is a good time for us to connect? Or is it, what days do you have available? Or next Wednesday and Thursday, I'm free. Tell me what works best for you. What do you find best?
So for me, it's, so Judy, thanks so much for connecting with me. I'm looking forward to looping you in the conversation that Scott Rivers and I had the other day. Shoot over some times that work for you for a call, or to make it easier, you're welcome to use my link, the link to my calendar. Boom.
Awesome.
Send.
Calendly or...
Calendly is what I use, yeah.
Yeah, I use Calendly as well. I love that. Brynne, this is amazing. I think that we could stop right now and everyone's going to get a ton out of this, and I really appreciate it. I know that you do a lot within your group to do training and things like that. Where can people go to find out more about you, and what do you have coming up soon that people should know about so that they can go and actually watch you?
So I love that. Well, lots of our content lives in linkedinlibrary.com. So lots of on-demand stuff. This podcast will be in there. So by the time you hear this, you'll find it. It'll be kind of odd, right? But no, we'll get it there. But there's lots of content. There's webinars on demand. There's checklists and ebooks, day in the life of a social seller, all kinds of fun stuff in there. So it's free, linkedinlibrary.com. We also have public classes that run every month at linkedInclass.com. So, and I'm the only Brynne Tillman on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out.
That. Yeah, if you type in Brynne Tillman, that's the only one that you're going to get. And I'll make sure people will have already seen your LinkedIn profile when I do the introduction for earlier in the show. And obviously you and Bill put out just amazing content. Again, that's where I started listening to you guys. The follow-up afterwards was timely. It was effective. It was meaningful. So those are all areas that I think that people will need to pick up from you as they start learning from you.
Thank you.
One other thing I want to talk about. So Brynne, my group is all about talent. We look at talent and try to define what the best talent is going to be for a different organization. And we try to partner with that organization to put that best talent in there. But as it relates to talent, if you're looking to hire or you're looking to bring on people to work with your group, what are those things that you absolutely look for and want to see in somebody? And what's the one or two things that you say, if I find this with an individual, I want to hire them?
Interesting. So, it's going to be different in my world than what I look at in other places. So like if I were to generally hire people outside of the LinkedIn social selling world,
mm-hmm.
the things I would look for, I think, are recommendations on LinkedIn. What are people saying about them and who are they? Are they clients? Are they coworkers? Are they easy to work with? Did their boss love them? I think recommendations are a huge third-party endorsement. I would also look at, when I look at the experience, not just a list of your responsibilities, but the impact that you had in those organizations, maybe the challenges that you solved. And I'd want to make sure that your passion is showing up. You can, if you have a decent IQ and passion, you can teach anyone to do most jobs, not necessarily brain surgery or rocket science, but lots of other things, right? So, but you've got to have that passion, that commitment. And I want to see that in your profile. Video will help do that, by the way. Adding almost like a welcome video into your featured section, almost like a pre-interview, could make a huge impact.
Good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. So, a lot of the things you talked about are things that we hear from other people, right? You look for past performance. You look for someone who's got a passion for what they're doing and a passion to drive and win and do what you want them to do. But then you kind of added something different. And I don't think anyone has ever mentioned that, which is getting recommendations on LinkedIn. And there's probably a way to do that and get more of them successfully. But we'll save that for the next conversation that we have, okay?
Sounds good.
I know that we're running out of time. Brynne, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining in on this conversation. I will make sure and put information in the show notes that you can reach out to Brynne. Brynne will tell me what I'm allowed to put in there, but definitely to her LinkedIn profile, definitely to her webpage. I'm going to put her cell phone. You're going to get everything. I think it's already on your LinkedIn profile anyway, but that works out great.
I want to be accessible. That's part of, my commitment to my clients.
It's awesome, Brynne. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, you have just finished another Talent Talks podcast with Scott Rivers. Thank you to today's guest, Brynne Tillman. Again, I told you from the beginning, actionable items that you can implement today to increase your sales engagement. I think Brynne provided tremendous amounts of value, and I really want to thank her for coming on the show and doing what she did. Remember, as I mentioned to you earlier, if you are interested in free content from Brynne, you can certainly go to her webpage. That is at socialsaleslink.com. And then in addition to that, you can go to linkedinlibrary.com for a ton of free information and content to help you with your sales. Thank you again to Brynne. We really appreciate it. Guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. Please rate us on iTunes or wherever you listen to it. And we look forward to our next show on Talent Talks podcast. Take care, everyone.